Hey, welcome to the Natural Balance Masterclass. My name is Neal. This is Natural Balance. And you're probably asking yourself, what is natural balance? Well, natural balance is a global movement that essentially exists in the hearts and minds of the people. And natural balance is it's in the hearts and the minds of the people. And that is what it has be global in the first place, because a heart and a mind exist inside of each person. And there are people globally. So being present to the present of the present, being in this physical body, that is the global movement because it's going within. It's completely backwards and counter programming to what we've been taught to, how we've been taught to act, how we've been taught to speak, how we've been taught to show up, how we've been taught as a way of being to be. Is completely backwards to all of that. And because of that, it's available to everybody, but not everybody chooses it. And it's only the people that actually choose it are the ones that, when they choose it, it's a choosing to let go, and it's a choosing to receive and then to express from what has been received. And so people, when they receive and they express natural balance, it is it's their difference, it's their gift, it's their sole purpose here on earth, being uh, picked up like a receiver in the heart and then channeling from the heart into potentially into the brain if you're going to be using your brain to think. But if you're just going to speak, the receiver goes from your heart straight out your mouth. And for your actions to be produced, the receiver is still the heart, and then it informs the brain, which then generates emotion, and it's the combination of a thought being married with an emotion, which produces a son, which is the fruit, which is the result, which is the result of the thought and the emotion coming together to produce something. And if we know what that result or what that fruit's going to be, then that isn't natural balance. If we know what it's going to look like, if we know all the details on getting there, if we know who's going to be there with us, natural balance is not knowing, and you don't know, and it's letting go of knowing, and it's stepping into listening. And when we listen, we okay, so there's a distinction here with knowing, where, all right, you have knowing like your knowledge knowing, so it's just in your brain. But then you have knowing where it's like, this is the step. But in this knowing of this is the step, you know the step, but you don't know the destination. And I think this is really important because there's times when we know the destination, but we don't know the step. And then there's other times when we don't know the destination, but we do know the step. And I think I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I think there's also times where we don't know the destination and we don't know the step. And it's in these moments, how I navigate this specific scenario that I just described, where I don't know what step to take. I don't know where the destination is. Well, in that scenario, how I navigate that is by, first of all, being present. Because if I'm thinking of the destination and what's it going to be and how am I going to get there, and the destination, the step really go together. And they go together because if you know your destination, probably the step, one step at the minimum, will be fairly obvious. And so they're tied together. And so with I don't know where I was going with this, but basically the I knew I was going somewhere, but whatever, here I am. And so the step and the destination, they go together, and they go together because, oh, here's what it is. So, oh, it's happening right now because I'm in my brain. I'm trying to know the destination. So if we get in our brain and we try to know the destination, we don't know the step, or possibly we don't know the step. But then if we know the destination, but we don't know the step, and oh, here's what it was. I'm sharing my recipe of how to navigate when I don't know the destination and when I don't know the step. So I did it. I came full circle. So when I don't know the destination, I don't know the step. In this scenario, I got to get present. Oh, that's the thing. All right. So presence is the thing, because if you're not present, you can't speak to what's being called for to be naturally expressed in the moment. But when I'm present, that's when I can actually tune in, because when I'm present, most of the time I'm in my heart. There have been times when I've been present, my mind's going, but I don't even call that truly present. So I think when I'm present, my brain is quiet, my heart is open, and so now I'm present, and then I'm like, all right, well, what are my commitments? So I've got commitments, and my like uh, I'm gonna say my top priority commitment is union with God. So being one with God, and then my next top priority commitment is being a fully authentic expression of the true self. And then I think my next one after that is to facilitate the healing of other people, for them to be the full embodiment and expression of the authentic true self. And that true self, I'm calling natural balance. And that natural balance is actually, you know what? I'm discovering this as I'm talking through this. So the true self is the source of natural balance, but it isn't natural balance. What natural balance is the soul that's coming from the true self and is inhabiting a physical body currently. So the natural balance is part of the true self. Natural balance is part of God, but it's not God. The soul is part of the true self, but it's not the true self. It's part of it, but it's not the full expression of it. And so natural balance is an expression of God through you, all around you, just like pouring out of you. It's an expression of God, but it's not God. And it's your difference. It's your gift. It's your passion. And sometimes it's not your passion. Sometimes what natural balance is, what your soul purpose is something you like have had an aversion to for most of your life, and you've had an aversion to it because your higher self, your soul, knows that were you to step into this thing that you're avoiding, then it is your sole purpose. So are you to step into it, exponential growth is going to happen. And because of that, the small self keeps us from taking that step and experiencing that growth because of being in control. And the ego is so infinitely creative and manipulative and controlling, and it's like insane the degree of manipulating and controlling that the ego is. And so much so that it'll literally uh, look at another person and project everything that the ego is made of onto the other person. And then it'll get really angry at the other person for them being the way that the ego is being. But rather than the ego owning that it's being that way, it just projects it onto another person and then judges the shit out of them. When the ego is doing this projection, it actually doesn't. The shit doesn't come out of the person. It actually judges the shit in them, and because you can't judge the shit out of a person if you're judging, and if you're actually embodying the energy of judgment. So you can judge the shit out of a person if you're judging them um, with language, but with energy, you're in a state of love while you're delivering the judgment. It's all about the energy. It has nothing to do with the words. It has everything to do with the place you're coming from and the place that you're committed to seeing growth occur. And so I've been speaking a while. I don't know what's coming up. I don't know where we're going. I'm here. I'm present. I do know long term how this story of the collective, how this story of humanity ends, is that we all wake up and we all remember our divinity, and we transcend our physical bodies, and we remember as one body coming together. And so that's how it ends. Spoiler alert. So now, being in the present moment, what is it for us to do now that we see where it ends, but we also see where we're at? What now? And I'm opening this up for sharing. Who would like to go first?
I'm chiming in here, Neal. I'm a little confused because on one hand, you're saying that you're talking about knowing before, or I guess there's a lot of stuff in positive thinking, affirmations, and it's vision boarding, thinking into the future of where you want to be, what you want to do, and pulling that towards the present. But you're saying that's not being a natural balance, that not acting or not envisioning the future, but being present now is natural balance. But I'm just trying to think about your or my goals, aspirations, whatever. We always try to think into the future of where we'd like to be, what we'd like to do, who we'd like to be in that place, and who we'd like to be surrounded with. I mean, that's part of vision, imagination. So I'm just a little confused about how that you're saying that's not a natural balance, and how you're supposed to achieve those, I guess, goals. If you're not, writing them down, or all those things we're told to do, write your goals, create a vision board, all those kinds of things. Are you saying that's not relevant to natural balance?
It's relative, but it's not the destination.
Or relevant, yeah.
It's relative.
So I just totally get what you're.
Yeah, it's relative because it's part of the journey. So it needs to be there. Like natural balance wouldn't be able to exist without those goals being met, those things being done, because you got to get through that to see. It's not even that you're accessing it after that. You're already accessing natural balance in the accomplishment of your goals, in the writing the thing on paper, in the moving towards it. But it's maybe a small expression of it, and it's not the full expression of the natural balance that is within us. And so where I'm looking and speaking from is the full expression of natural balance. And so what did you hear with that, Dave?
Yeah, well, I understand your natural balance is coming to that stasis of being present and receiving, I guess, the God inspiration, really. I guess that's what you're trying to say?
Yes, that's exactly it.
I had I do a lot of driving because I have a outside sales job. You notice that I'm driving on some of these calls that you're in. But I was listening to a lot of podcasts. One of them is Sarah Landon with the Council, this group of ascended beings, she calls them, downloading messages. There was something that was said in a podcast I listened to about when you have that that egoic mind you were talking about, the monkey mind, or just the confusion of, what am I supposed to do? And their message was, stop, take 3 deep breaths. And by doing those intentional breaths, you're drawing yourself to the present, and then from there, go to the heart. So stop, 3 breaths, 3 deep breaths, go to the heart, and then listen. And then you're present. That communication of God, of the divine. And you're receptive at that point because you did stop, you did that 3 breaths, allows you to open up, get out of the mind and into the heart. So I found that to be useful to, I guess at your point, to achieve that natural balance moment where then you are receptive to the divine messaging that will give you that direction towards those goals, those visions that you want to achieve, or those steps, because the step always occurs. What next in the present? We can think about
exactly.
the future. Yes, the past is already history. I was talking to Susan this morning in her class. All the power is in the present, always, because that's where it is. I mean, it's not in the past. Past is done. Future doesn't exist. It's just the present. And I think that's where you're coming from with natural balance, is that the power of the present, the gift of the presence of the present, and being present in the present and receiving that gift.
That's exactly it. And it's and then in the past, when I used to think of presence, I thought it was like stasis. Like I thought it didn't move. It was just still. And but how I view it now is that the present is dynamic, and the only constant is change. So it's always in motion, and it's moving and changing and transitioning. And so it's not only being present to the present, it's being also present to the movement that's happening in the present. And that movement is, when we tap into natural balance, the movement that is coming through us is inspiration. And it's that inspiration that we receive in our heart. We can speak it out our mouth, or we can use that inspiration to inform our brain, and which we can then generate a thought. And but so the inspiration is the movement that is occurring in the present. And it's not the only thing that's moving, but it's one of the main attributes of generating physical change. Like inspiration matters, like literally. Like when you're not inspired, it matters, and when you're inspired, it matters. And when you're inspired, it matters way more than when you're not inspired. And so being inspired has this exponential like increase in capacity to actually be that goal oriented, be like have the things written on paper. And it's through that is the inspiration. But if you go to the paper first, and if you go to the goals first, then most of the time it's coming from the brain, and it's coming from thinking. So it might be inspiration, but most of the time when we go to the paper first, when we go to the goals first, we have a desire to get somewhere. And anytime we have a desire to write a goal, or to write a task, or to write things, steps we need to take, it's that desire to do the thing that isn't natural balance. And when you're inspired, it's and another thing is, when you're in your brain and you're writing the goals and you're writing the steps, in that scenario, you're literally I just had something. It's you're using your brain. You're I don't know, but either way, it's the inspiration that is Like you don't need anything, and then you're inspired, and then you can just like start writing out some goals, and you can start writing out some next steps. But the next steps aren't coming because you need them. They're just like just flowing through you. Yeah. You're still unmuted, Dave. You got some more?
Well, I'm gonna stop for now. I'm gonna let somebody else speak. I gotta go grab a note, so I'll do that, and someone else can jump in.
Yeah. So being present, present, and I spoke to this earlier, and the present is not. See, I used to think presence was static, like it didn't move, like it was just there, and there's no moving parts. But now I know that the only constant is change. So we can be present, but then also being present to the movement that's occurring in the present. And see, okay, so here I now remember something from earlier, which is this movement that's occurring in the moment. It's that movement that is inspiration, and we can choose to resist that and stay in the moment, or we can jump on the ride. We can jump on the train of inspiration and ride it. And most often, inspiration is natural balance, is your soul essence coming through you. Inspiration usually isn't something that you would use as a detriment. So you wouldn't necessarily be inspired to go like dig up a garden bed, or you wouldn't necessarily feel inspired to go cut down a large tree, or you wouldn't necessarily feel inspired to kill a duck. You wouldn't necessarily feel inspired to manipulate someone. And so inspiration has this inherent like grace, like giving. It's a quality of growth. And so are we to tap into that inspiration that's occurring in the moment? That is it's a pretty simple access to natural balance, because natural balance is our sole purpose, but we don't always know what that is. But most of us have felt inspiration, and starting to take steps from inspiration is a step in the direction of the full expression of the true self, of the full embodiment of the authentic version of oneself, and expressing it. And inspiration is a step on the journey to that full expression. So that's all I'm gonna say for now. I'm gonna open it up for sharing, and welcome, Cole.
Thanks,
And
man. This is
you're
good.
welcome.
Yeah, inspiration. That's I relate to what you're saying for sure. Um, I think you're saying something about being in the mind and how, what were you saying about that? Like being in your mind or in your brain, and like how that's like not inspiring, or is that, was that something you were saying or no?
That's not what I said, but it's what I was pointing towards. Yes, that's
Mhm.
accurate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah. Um, yeah, we were talking about cutting down that tree. I felt like we were pretty inspired when we cut down the tree. You gave that as an example. I thought it was, that was pretty inspiring, but it
Yeah,
was a dead tree.
yeah. And that's a great distinction. And for me personally, cutting down a live large tree is not inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I shared that. I acknowledge what you said, and I'm acknowledging why I said what I said.
Mm.
Is there more there, Cole? Do you want to share more?
I'm good right now.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So
I'm in again.
yes, go for it.
I got my notes here. I wrote down the other day, and this is a potential masterclass. It's called "All My Exes Are in the Present." Experience
Wow.
leads experience leads to expansion, leads to expression. All the X's are in the present, and it's about awakening to your own realization, integration of every part of you um, as whole, and the past is healed, and you are pure love. Let go of judgment. Know that everything is happening for you. A lot of times we look at things happening to us, but we flip the script and know that everything is happening for us. You get more of what you are. So what you are expands. You are here to realize yourself as pure love. And this is where I got the other thing from. Elevate your consciousness in the moment. Take 3 deep breaths. Close your eyes. Stop. Take 3 deep breaths. Go from your head to your heart, and you'll feel a sense of peace. Continue to breathe. Is it possible this is happening for you? So that's the question you ask when something's happening. Is it possible this is happening for me? Get clear about what you want to create more of. And that's what I think you're talking about, the natural balance. When you're now in that present, you've cleared yourself from the head, you've come into the heart, you're now open to what is this happening for me? And it's actually a gift. So get clear about you want to create more of. What do I want more of in this moment? And that's what you're talking about, Neal, when you said it's not about your desire, it's about God's desire for you. So when you get clear about what it is that is happening for you, it is what you want more of, that God is directing you. It is not your desire, it is his desire to be manifest through you.
Wow.
Okay. And then my another note here, this is all from the council from Sarah Landon. You get clear about what you want to create more of, more than ever existed before. So what you're able to do is go into the cosmos, into the God heart, and call in something that's never existed before. You actually can be the creator of a new existence. It's about rebalancing what needs to be rebalanced within your own being. Follow the energy and let light guide you the way, and take action from that place. I think that's what you're talking about with natural balance, that you're actually calling in the power of God in the present to rebalance and let that energy and let the light be your guide, and take action from that place to call in that never existed creation that you can be the creator for. But the desire is God's, not yours. And that is natural balance that you're speaking.
Precisely.
Pardon me? Okay, that's good.
Precisely.
Well, I found a resonance between what you were saying and one of my notes here from the other day, that they're coming together.
When is that
you're on-
masterclass available?
Well, I'm not sure when the next round of the visionary program is, but that kind of hit me. All my exes live in the present, So,
Yeah.
And that was, so experience, expansion, expression, and that's one thing I got from this messaging, was that the universe, God, is always expanding, always wanting more, and that's why we are here, because we are that expansion. We are those nodes of experience. God wants to experience everything, even the undesirable things, because then there's that difference. Once we know what the bad is, we can then seek the good. We know what hell is. We fall, as Jonathan says, we get to heaven by falling through the floor of hell. And that is that it's also the alpha is the omega, the beginning is the end. When you feel like you're at the bottom, the top is right there too, just by flipping. So then your experience becomes the expansion, and then your expression, that is your living the dream. That's the heaven on earth that we speak of, that we can experience. And that's the expression of us being God in the present with each other. And that's, I think, what you said, that's the end game. That's the end result, the spoiler, that our expression is that of the God being in the present with each other, the namaste, the in lakesh. In each other, we see in I is another you.
Yes. And it's even going beyond the I and the you and the me and the you, and it's just the oneness.
Right.
Complete
We are one.
Yes.
But we are individual. We are fractals of the one, because we are each an expression of the one, and we are each an experience. We each experience, expand, and we each express a uniqueness that is indeed part of the one. But it's all that it's the one experiencing itself to expand its awareness of itself and its experience. So that is the individual, then part of the whole. So that is the my Father are one right there.
Correct.
I, Father are one.
There's a lot of God stuff right here. I don't know if you're all picking up what Dave's laying out, but wow.
Yeah, Dave, I remember you were talking to me about like how like we are like the birth of Christ, like we are the Immaculate Conception. You were like explaining it to me, and I thought that was super mind-blowing and really cool. I think it was when we were at Grace too. Do you remember that at all?
Yes, it's funny you mentioned that, because I literally had that same conversation this morning with Susan with her masterclass, and I mentioned the Immaculate Conception, and that that is the the idea. It's a subjective. You know, it's kind of like what we're saying. The desire of God coming through you. You know, that's your imagination. You know, imagining something that you want to be, calling it to the present, and that becomes the objective. The object becomes the physical 3D. That is the Immaculate Conception, because it came from nothing. It came from an idea, an imaginal idea, which never existed before, and now it can exist. We brought it from the subjective to the objective simply by thought and direction and inspiration from God. That is the Immaculate Conception that I see in that is the metaphor. That is the birth of Christ, and Christ is simply God awake in man. So when we have that awakened awareness that we are, as Neal just said, one, I and my Father are one, that is the Christ alive in you. And that is the ability to have that Immaculate Conception occur. That is the receiving of that subjective idea to become the manifest of physical in the 3D here. You know, so we can create, it's just simply, you know, you can see that, you can witness it right now with Earth Waking Village. It was a concept of an idea, you know, Jonathan and the team there, they're manifesting it in real life. That is the Immaculate Conception. Came from an abstract idea, and it now was called into reality. And that's why joy exists there, because it was the desire of God through each individual to be the best and the most optimum manifest of themselves, of the God within.
Wow.
And what? Okay, is there more there? Let's keep going on that. If there's more.
Go ahead.
No, I'm asking Dave.
Yeah, it is that's the empowerment too. That I said before, that the power is in the present. So all these things get called in. That subjective thought, that imagination, when it's brought about by that stillness, by that moment of consciousness and connection with God in that moment, that's when that inspiration comes. That's when that desire for your true self. You mentioned in a previous one, Neal, purpose. That's where you call in the purpose, your purpose, because it's really God's purpose. You are here to do his work because he wants you to be the best image of himself here today in with your relations with your people. And that's why when you go from the head to the heart, you're letting go of that egoic desire, and you're now receiving the divine desire, which is what your true self wants. And in that moment, you can have that inspiration, that idea which is that Immaculate Conception, which then it may not happen immediately, but that's where it said, where I wrote down here, take action from that place. Those are going to be those steps, that inspiration. Hey, do this. It's that little bit of that intuitiveness that says, I should do this. And that's that calling to make that step. And each moment, that step then expands to the next step and the next step. That's why they always say the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. You know, you don't know how you're going to make that walk, but just start walking. Or what another way to look at it too is that the journey may be 1,000 steps. And if you see the whole 1,000 steps, you're going to be intimidated, daunted. I can't do those 1,000 steps. Just look at the one step. I can make one step. And then that one step occurs. Oh, I have another step to take. And instead of seeing the whole, you know, the grand staircase, you're just seeing each step that's coming in front of you right now. And so you're not intimidated, you're encouraged, because each step is then brought with another message, which is take the next step and the next step. That's why the saying is you don't need to know the how, because the how is being presented to you in each step.
Yeah, and is there more there, Dave, or is that complete?
I think I'm complete with that now.
Yeah. Do you got more, Cole, or do you feel complete?
I feel complete.
Oh wait, I got something else here.
Yeah.
Take action from that place. What you focus on expands. Those who are in the state of higher consciousness will always be guided. Trust and know the divine is with you. So that's what it comes down to. I think that's the difficult, you know, I'm struggling with that personally, is that trust and knowing that those who are in the state of higher consciousness will always be guided. So there's that trust there, knowing that if I'm in a state of higher consciousness, which is in that heart consciousness, not the lower egoic, you know, the third chakra, you're ascending to the heart chakra, going from the solar plexus to the heart. And that's that ascension that gives you that clarity and that trust, because you're now in a place of the heart. So here's another one here. Acceptance leads to allowance, leads to joy, leads to expansion. So it says here, allow yourself to do the things that bring you joy, and that will lead to expansion.
Can you read that again in the direct order of the words?
Well, I said that acceptance leads to allowance, leads to joy, leads to expansion. So acceptance is where you are, accept where you are. It is what it is. But then you allow yourself to do the things. You realize that, hey, I want to do the things that bring me joy. So if you focus on those things, then that joy the only way to expand is to receive. Believe you are worthy of it. True resistance is the opposite of expansion. Your soul's desire, your true desire, comes forth from the soul for the purpose of expansion. So there again, there comes that desire, not your desire, but the desire of the soul. You mentioned, Neal, your true self. So you were correct in the beginning there. I was just trying to get clarity, but this is a realigning here, that your natural balance, that's what you're saying, is a natural balance. You're coming from that place of the oneness. And from that oneness, you're getting its desire for you to bring you joy. You want to seek the joy that is you, and that is your true self, wanting to manifest, wanting to create from that infinite source that all creation comes from. So it says here that the I am is the proof of your worthiness. You are everything you wish to be. Live fully, love fully, and that is your legacy.
I love it. That one's got a nice bow on top.
That's it.
Can you read that one again, Dave? I really felt that saying.
Well, it comes down to the I am. The I am is your proof of your worthiness. When you say I am, that is your acknowledgement that you are connected to the divine. You are a piece of God's peace. proof of your worthiness. You are everything you wish to be, and your goal is simply to your true self wants to live fully and love fully. So whatever that is, whatever brings you joy, that's living fully and love fully, and that is the legacy you create. So whether it be maybe it is that like you, Neal, you like to work in the garden, you like to serve your fellow community with delicious food and veg from the garden, and provide them with sustenance. That's your living fully. Another one could be like Jonathan. He wants to expand villages across the planet, full of love and full of learning about the way to be, connected with God. That's another way of living fully, and each one is individual. So we have that opportunity, and that's part of that expansion. All of us doing our thing, king of our thing, queen of our scene, expands, and the whole world celebrates when that occurs. Do not deny your love for yourself for any reason in any situation you're in.
Yeah,
You are loved.
that's easy to hear intellectually, but doing that one in the moment is a whole nother fucking story. Giving yourself
Absolutely.
love when you're all beat down, giving yourself love when somebody's just told you fuck you, giving yourself love when your foot just got ran over, giving yourself love when you just smashed your finger with a hammer. Intellectually, you know to do that, but doing it in the moment, it's a whole nother story. There's a lot of wisdom in those words. It's easy to hear it, and it's not so easy to practice it.
Well, and there is our challenge right there, and that's why I think we're doing these master classes, is because it is that it's just a training. Really, it's a training of the soul to know that we are loved and we are loved, and that is it right there. When all hell is coming at us, know that we are loved and that we are loved, and that is I and the Father are one again, because it's all the same. So that's the end of my notes. So I am complete.
Amazing. Thank you, Dave. There's one thing I know about each person here. Do you want to know what that one thing is?
Yeah.
You love me. Whoa, 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 whoa. You love me? How can you say that? Well, if you don't love me, it's not because you don't love me. It's because you don't love who? It's because you don't love you. So if you love yourself, if you know yourself, then you'll love me. And if I love myself, I love you, and I do love you, and I respect you, and I honor your time, and I think it has infinite value. So thank you from the bottom of my heart and from the soles of my feet for being here. I'm really glad for your presence. It's appreciated, and I'm acknowledging that. And there were some things that came up with what you shared, Dave. And one of the things is this having the goal or having the whole picture, like seeing the 1,000-step journey, but just being on the first step, but like actually seeing the journey and feeling overwhelmed by it, and feeling like it's too much, and feeling like it's like too big and too far. And I think this is precisely why sometimes we don't know the destination. Because were we to know where we're going, it would freak out the version of ourselves that is in the moment. And so in that scenario, what we're presented with is a step. You don't need to see the 1,000th step. You just need to take the third one, and then the fourth one, and then the fifth one, until you get to the 1,000th one. But so this concept of being overwhelmed by seeing the big picture, I found value in that. And then the other one was with natural balance. When you're receiving and allowing and experiencing, but you're not expressing, that isn't natural balance. When you're suppressing anything, if you're if you're suppressing your soul, if you're suppressing your words, if you're suppressing your perspective, that's what natural balance isn't. And God can so our heart's the receiver. So we can pick up God in the receiver of our heart. And we can have God in our heart, and we can have God in our brain, and we can have God speaking. Actually, no, if we speak, it's not where I'm going. So in this case, God's in you, so he's in your heart. You've received God in your heart. Maybe he's informing your thoughts, probably informing your emotions. That's still not natural balance. Well, what are you talking about, Neal? I've just received God. How's that not natural balance? Well, what specifically has it be natural balance is the expression of it. If you're not expressing God, if you're just like, oh, I've received it, now I'm good to go, now I'm going to go and be in a cave for 20 years, great. And unless you express your sole purpose, then it isn't natural balance. And I'm not saying somebody going and sitting in a cave for 20 years might not be natural balance, because potentially that is that person's sole purpose. But what I'm saying is that what natural balance isn't is when you've received God, but you don't express it. Natural balance is the full expression of the soul, of our difference, of our gift through us in the present. And so really bringing focus and consciousness to expressing once we've received. Receiving is just the first step. The expression of what we've received is the next step. And it's only after we've expressed is when we actually receive the fruits of what we've received. And it's in the moment that we express what we've received, we already receive the fruits, because it's in the expression of our soul, of our difference, of our natural balance. It's in the expression of it that we are receiving, because when we're naturally balanced, we're not expressing to get something. We're expressing because inspiration, God is flowing through us. So there's not necessarily a destination that we can see per se in that experience. And because there's not a destination we can see in that experience, we stay present and then just express what's naturally being called for in the moment. And from that place, it's simple, it's easeful, it's graceful, it's like a dance. And if it's hard, it's because we've probably engaged our brain, or if we so another distinction I'm just getting right now is that natural balance is being an active participant in God's plan here on earth. So you can be saved, you can receive the grace of Jesus, you can receive God and not express natural balance. You can receive God, you can receive grace and still just do all your bullshit. But like what about it? You're good to go. Your physical body's gonna die. You've already received Jesus, you've already received God. But that isn't natural balance. Natural balance is you've received God, he's informed you with inspiration, and then it's the expression of it. And it's the expression of what? Your difference. Well, what's your difference? God's purpose for your life. Well, what's God's purpose for my life? I don't know. That's a conversation to have with God. And well, how do I talk to God? Just talk. Well, I don't know how to talk. Well, just start. But no, start. What? Start. Yes, you can start. We can just start a conversation. And it just sounds like any conversation. Like, hey God, like I could use some support right now. Like, hey God, like thank you for like literally giving me capacity to speak, to request support. And then thank you for granting me support. Like, thank you, God. And so it's easy and it's simple. We make it hard, but it's actually really simple. And there's one more piece that I'm going to speak to that I received from your share, Dave. And that piece, I don't even know what it is. I was going to share it, and I saw your hand go up, and I got so fired up to hear you share that. Go ahead, Dave. What's up?
I was just going to anchor and reiterate your comment there about speaking to God. The first step, and it's is gratitude. Is just simply being grateful for what you have, because what you have is a lot. I mean, wherever you are, you're alive. You can breathe. You know, you got fingers that move. You have the ability to see, even if it's with glasses on. You have so much to be grateful for, and that's the first communication. God, thank you for my life. Thank you for my breath. Thank you for the roof over my head. Simple things are big things. So that is the first step of appreciation is gratitude, and to knowing that you are loved because you have things to be grateful for. So there's your prayer right there. Be grateful.
Yeah, and that actually is the thing that I intended to speak to from your earlier share, which was this: you had acceptance and then allowance and then something and then expression. But how I operate is acceptance and then appreciation, and then expression after that. So where you put allowance, I put in appreciation. And that's how I've been operating. And I love this upgrade of allowance because it's, I can still have my appreciation. So I can accept, appreciate, and allow now. And the allowing is the receiving of the true self, is how I'm intending to use it.
Well, yeah, the word allowance is a receiving word. Allow means to receive. And in this reference, allow yourself to do the things that bring you joy. So what is your purpose? That confusing, daunting question. What is my purpose? Well, what do you like? What brings you joy? What brings you joy is your true soul, your true self, reaching out, knocking you in the head. Hey, I like this. Hey, this brings me joy. Try to do more of that. Okay. Yeah, but I have to have a job. Yeah, sure, but try to do more of that too. So that's the allowance. And then the joy comes from that receiving of the things that you enjoy. Seeking it will bring you the joy. And then when the joy comes, you want to express that joy. That's the evangelism is the expansion. Hey, I got to tell more people about this joy I have. I want to share it with the world. That's the expansion. That's the evangelism. That is that receiving of that God love, really. That's the allowance to receive that love. And by seeking that love, that'll bring you joy. And when you receive that joy, you want to tell the world. So even that guy in the cave maybe isn't serving completely because he needs to get out of the cave and tell the world about the love he's received.
Mm. Yes. Does everybody got a pen and paper? All right. Here, think of this as a way of being that you can choose to embody this week. And it's a recipe from Dave that I'm modifying. And the way of being is there's 3 steps. All right. So number 1, accept. Number 2, appreciate. So be grateful for something. Number 3, express. So it's a way of being of accepting, appreciating, and expressing. And have that go into this week and come back next week ready to share. And with that, this class is complete. These classes are now being uploaded to YouTube. So all the previous classes are uploaded. And this one also will be uploaded. So if you ever want to watch the replays of this class or of any of the other classes, they're accessible on The Experience Podcast. And if you've watched this whole experience, this expression of natural balance, hit the like, hit the subscribe. And with that, I love you, Dave. I love you, Annette. I love you, Cole. Peace.